Hey, how's it going? You are in the jungle. I'm Matt Edwards. Kind of miserable, isn't it? No music today. No need for celebration. No need to play that clip where they say afraid of nobody, because clearly this Cincinnati Bengals team is afraid of just about everybody now that the superhero Joe Burrow has gone down and is likely out for the year. Let's be honest about that as well. Quick programming note before we go down this miserable path together, this sad path together. I haven't been doing as many podcasts recently, but I am doing more YouTube shorts. I've got a newborn son at home, been hanging out with him and my wife and our beautiful daughter. Not going to spend any time away from them. They're all in bed now. Not going to spend any time away from my family and friends to waste on whatever the hell you want to call the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals. Not going to waste any more time or energy on them than I have to. But here we are. Let me say a couple things. You've seen the title already. I told you coming into the year, people kind of forgot Zac Taylor was on the hot seat. He had some bad moments the last few years. But they've been covered up by the superhero that wears number 9. That's not going to be the case this year. In the last 2 weeks, oh boy, has it been bad. It has been brutal. 48-10, 28-3. My God. That's Browns under Hugh Jackson type play right there. I'm going to say this too. Let me get it out of the way. I think you can say that Zac Taylor should be fired in Cincinnati without being a terrible person while he's saying it. He's a great guy. He really is. A+ human being. And I try not to pile on people when they're down and they're being kicked, which he absolutely is right now. But at the same time, he's the head coach. And boy, this has to kind of fall on him at this point, doesn't it? What are the other explanations at this point? It reminds me a lot of how I felt about Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton had some good times with him, made some Pro Bowls. Went to the playoffs for 5 consecutive years to start his career in Cincinnati, and it comes on the heels of Carson Palmer demanding he be traded. Andy Dalton, great dude. Genuinely one of the kindest human beings in the world. Athlete or not. Just a grade A human being. But in crunch time, that nice guy didn't really cut it on the football field. The charity work he does, as great as it wasn't getting past the wild card round, right? When push comes to shove, Zac Taylor, like Andy Dalton before him, and those two guys not really exchanging Christmas cards, by the way, like Andy Dalton before him, the face of the franchise, one of the most important people in the organization, can't get it done. You need an edge in football, don't you? Joe Burrow's got a little bit of that arrogance when he needs to have it. That I'm him. That thing that he does, whatever it is. You kind of need a bit of an edge. We even see that out of guys like Andy Reid, as holly jolly as he can be. He gets in Travis Kelce's face on the sidelines. Meanwhile, Zac Taylor, getting bombarded with flags last night, is smiling when he argues with the refs. It drives me insane. Can you have an edge to him? I went to Ohio State. Ryan Day kind of had this for a while too, where you felt like he needed an edge to him. And seemingly last year when people were getting pepper sprayed on the field after losing to the team from Ann Arbor, he found that edge. He needed kind of that villain story. I feel like Zac Taylor has needed the same thing. He's needed like a Marvel origin, a villain story, something to awaken a dark side in him, and I just don't see it happening. Andy Dalton was not an awful quarterback, but he wasn't good enough. Zac Taylor, you can make an argument he's not an awful head coach, but he sure as hell is not good enough. I have no doubts about that anymore. You have to do better. You have to continue to try to get better. I look at what the Philadelphia Eagles did. 2017, I've got the football right over there. I held it a few episodes ago. The Eagles go on that crazy run with Nick Foles. Doug Peterson is the head coach. They win the Super Bowl. 3 years later, they fire Doug Peterson. He went 9-7, 9-7, and then I think 4-11 and 1. He wasn't good enough. He won a Super Bowl. They had great memories with him. Zac Taylor went to a Super Bowl, held the lead in a Super Bowl in the 2-minute warning. Got to the AFC Championship the next year. It's awesome. I think you can say we're grateful for what Zac Taylor's done. He came into a situation not a lot of head coaches wanted to come into, and we'll get into that as well. And he did some really good things. In year 3, he got this team to a Super Bowl. No one would have ever imagined that. And you can be thankful for Zac Taylor, and you can be happy for the times we've had with him, while also acknowledging it's time to move on. Eagles did it. Fired Doug Peterson 3 years after the Super Bowl run. Been to 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls, won the most recent one, and look like the best team in the NFL right now. Maybe aside from the Bills by a mile, right? You can always get better. There's no doubt. Even if anyone wanted to make the argument, and I'm sure some people do, that the Bengals should hang on to Zac Taylor, you really can't make an argument that there are better guys out there, right? And we'll get into the guys at some point. Tonight's not the night for that, but how many wins are you leaving on the table right now? I mean, we see coaches come in out of nowhere. I mean, this is a hot job too. That's the thing, and I was going to get into this later, but I'll get into it right now. When the Bengals hired Zac Taylor in 2019, no one wanted the job. It was a bad roster. It had Andy Dalton at quarterback, right? A.J. Green was on the back nine. It was a bad roster then. Now, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins? I mean, how often does an NFL head coaching job with an elite quarterback, a quarterback who at halftime last night, Jason Kelce said was the best on the planet, how often do those jobs come open? They don't. They never do. Any head coach, any football mind would want this job. That was not the case in 2019 when Zac Taylor got hired. It is the case now. The Bengals can have whoever they want. If they're available, they will want to coach Joe Burrow. How many wins is this staff leaving on the table that other staffs would have got? Would they have won in overtime last year in Baltimore and passed the ball instead of running it 3 straight times and settling for a 50-some-odd yard field goal? No, they would have put the ball in the hands of Joe Burrow. I'm sorry, it's 10:30, and I have a newborn. I know I'm not speaking that clearly, and the Reds are down 5-0. Here comes Connor Phillips. How good has he been? What I'm saying, and I think what most people who follow this team realize by now, they can do better. The Cincinnati Bengals can do better. They've upgraded. They're the chick who, figured things out and dated that dork like me in high school, but got to college and realized I'm better than him. I'm going to start dating the star of the football team. Bengals are now that beautiful woman, and they deserve a star player. Right? Not someone on the trivia club or whatever it is. Okay, listen. That's where I'm at. I mean, teams take on the personality of their head coach, too. I mean, last night you see Zac Taylor on the sideline, and again, I feel bad piling onto the guy. Great guy. But you see Zac Taylor on the sideline, Connor Phillips gives up a home run, stab me. You see Zac Taylor on the sideline, just kind of has that dumbfounded look to him, right? He gets flustered. I said this forever. He gets overwhelmed. In the big moments, he kind of seems to lose focus and I just mentioned the Baltimore game. It's like he gets flustered and overthinks things in the big moment. You think his team doesn't feel that? You think his team doesn't see him on the sideline with that, oh my God, look on his face? Teams take on the personality of their head coach. Look in Pittsburgh. Businesslike. That's what Mike Tomlin is. That's what the Steelers are. I mean, Kansas City with Andy Reid. They can be fun from time to time, but when crunch time rolls around, they're going to put you in a headlock and punch you in the face until you can get out. Detroit with Dan Campbell. I mean, these teams who are doing really well or traditionally have, Steelers are in first place. That's awesome, isn't it? They take on the personality of their head coach. What kind of tone is Zac Taylor setting? I like that he's a nice guy. I like that he brings his kids in the locker room and on road trips. Doesn't win you any football games. I'm a good dad. I'm a good husband. I couldn't coach the Bengals. I could just talk about them on a microphone like an idiot. But for the second week in a row, you see the Bengals, as soon as things start to go south, they fold. First 2 drives on Monday night weren't bad. Go down, get 3 points, all right. Defense forces a 3 and out. You're thinking, okay, they got it together a little bit here. They got a little embarrassed, and now they're going to play football. And then you get what? The Ted Karras head lift penalty, and then the hold on Amarius Mims that negated T. Higgins' 37-yard completion. It's like after that, they're like, all right, we're done. What? Can you get a little fire in your belly? I mean, we just saw Andy Reid, who's like 70 years old, bump into Taylor Swift's husband. Tell him what's up. Can we get some of that? Think we've gone a little too far with the, gee golly, huh? Gotta be, What's Zac Taylor's personality that he injects into this football team? Is there one? I don't know, man. I just don't know. I just don't think that you can be like you can be too nice as a football coach. People talk about Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy only won one Super Bowl, and he had 2 really good rosters. I'm not saying he doesn't have a great mind, but, I mean, come on. You got to have an edge to you. You got to have a nastiness to you. This is a game where people are smashing into each other as hard as they can. This isn't time for, PG-rated guys to be leading teams. He looks confused. I mean, he smiles when he argues with the refs. You imagine that? You imagine someone trying to ruin your livelihood here, the thing you work so hard for. And these refs are throwing flags on some horse crap? And you're like, oh, come on, and cheesing with them? Get an edge to yourself. He needs that villain moment. He needs something to, turn him into a madman. And I just don't know that it's in there. I think with some guys it's in there. I don't know that he has one. And that's not a bad thing for the greater good of society, but for an NFL head coach, it doesn't work. Someone brought this up last night. It's been brought up before. I think I've said it on here before. If they were to part ways, does Zac Taylor get another head coaching interview? If the Bengals and Zac Taylor, one way or the other, part ways at the end of this season or whenever, does he get an interview for the other vacant NFL jobs that are available this offseason? I don't know that he gets an interview, let alone a job. I mean, without Joe Burrow, he's just not been able to do anything. And boy, it's looked bad recently. You adapt or you die, and right now he is unable to adapt, and it's killing the Bengals. I just don't think he knows what to do. I think he's lost Joe Burrow, and he doesn't know what else to do, man. You adapt or you die in this league, really, in all high levels of, professionalism. And he is not adapting. Reds down 6-0. That's fun. I don't really care if they lose. I'm happy they made it. Whatever. What are you going to do? Expectations are low for that franchise. They've been raised for this one. Andrew Whitworth told Paul Dehner Jr., I read the article again today just to make sure I had it right. He says the Bengals system he said it's the most difficult system for offensive linemen to play in the league. Andrew Whitworth, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, tells Paul Dehner Jr., excellent guy, covers the beat. If you listen to this, you sure as hell know who he is. Tells him that there is no place more difficult in the NFL to play offensive line than in Cincinnati with Zac Taylor and the Bengals. You would think if that superstar who is keeping your career afloat keeps getting mauled season after season, you would put the guys who protect him, you would put his bodyguards in position to succeed. Not make life difficult on them. What are we doing here? Again, with the overthinking things. You got to put guys in position to succeed, and it's just not happening. I mean, Troy Aikman last night, I keep the game on, the post game, and Troy Aikman, what did he say? He said it was, he called it embarrassing, but the big thing he said was, this was stuff you learn in Pop Warner. Pre-snap penalties, how to get lined up. Amarius Mims in year 2, you can't get lined up right, and you negate a 40-yard pass of an offense that needs everything it can get. And this is not a knee-jerk reaction from me either. I mean, I said at the top of the show, Zac Taylor came into the season on the hot seat. People kind of forgot that. Somehow, not a losing record in September, but it still make the worst September we've seen from the Bengals in I don't know how long. So, I mean, the Bengals are at a crossroads here. These next few months are just going to be pivotal in what happens with, does Joe Burrow win a Super Bowl? I don't know that he's going to now with Zac Taylor. And it's not just Zac, by the way, but you're the head coach. There's a lot of things on this team. But one thing that's glaringly obvious is that he's in year 7. Think of the little mistakes. Think of the inability to get motivated. In Minnesota, usually teams come out, they lose a star player, and they come out and they say, oh, we're more than just that guy. Watch us. You think we were just number 9? No, they didn't do that. Are there... And then I made a YouTube short yesterday, which you can watch, youtube.com/InTheJunglePod. Kind of like TikTok videos, are all 3 minutes or less. And I said, the Bengals are going to come out and they're going to play well. I don't know if they're going to win, but if you want to bet, 7.5 points feels pretty dang good. And I bet it, and I never bet the Bengals. But here's the thing. In the previous 2 weeks, 10 teams had lost by 17 or more points. 8 of them covered the spread the next week because they had some pride. The 2 that didn't, the Bengals last night and the Tennessee Titans, who are god-awful. That's where the Bengals are at right now. They're in that bottom tier right now. Year 7 for Zac Taylor. He's had these guys for a while. Again, he's not the only problem, but it's one area where I feel certain, and I think everyone does at this point, the Bengals can get better. I don't know how you couldn't argue that. There's just too many things that in year 7, you don't have them buttoned up by now. Maybe hiring the Rams quarterback coach was all you were able to do in 2019, but in 2025, you say, thanks for your service. You've been great. You got us to a Super Bowl. You're welcome back here. Free meal at Jeff Ruby's anytime you want. But it's time to hit refresh. It's time to maybe see if someone else can come in here and take this thing to the next level. What do the Bengals want to do? Are they fine here? I would sure as hell hope not. They put in too much work this last half decade to get to this point and just kind of say, we'll see what happens. Not the right move. All right, that's my piece. Again, I don't like calling for firing people, but I think Zac Taylor will be all right. And I know my opinion doesn't really matter. Although, Mr. Brown, if you are listening, come on the show anytime you'd like. All right, that's all I got for you. It's In the Jungle. I'm Matt Edwards. Enjoy whatever you do in life. Don't waste too much time dwelling on this. I'm just like, I know it's easy to say that right now. It's a bummer, man. It's a huge, huge bummer. I mean, Joe going down was bad enough, but I thought, like a lot of people thought, we saw what Jake Browning was able to do in 2023, keep the boat afloat. No, this is bad. It's really bad. All right, that's all I got for you. Again, check out the YouTube shorts. I got a newborn at home. He's cool, but he's takes up a lot of time, as does my toddler. I love them to pieces, and I'm going to spend more time with them than I am. Although if the maybe the Reds make a World Series run here, and I can do this all the time. But that's that. Check out the YouTube shorts, or don't. I'll be all right either way. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see what they can do against the Lions this Sunday. The Lions, national TV at 4:25. Good God.